Hello and welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another Crafty Simulations video. In today's video I am taking out an iconic piece of British aviation history. We are revisiting the Aeroplane Heaven Hurricane Mark 1A and we're going to be taking it on a rather special flight around Lincolnshire. So, hello and welcome back to the cockpit of the Aeroplane Heaven Hurricane Mark 1A. A Battle of Britain Hurricane, and it has featured, sorry for Trackir there, it has featured before on the channel. I did a video for it quite a while ago, but it has been updated a few times now, and hopefully we're going to have a nice flight in it. Now, the Hurricane does mean quite a bit to me in Flight Simulator terms, because it's an aircraft you don't see that often in Flight Simulator. You see the Spitfires, the Mustangs, the Messerschmitt 109s, you know, fuck off 190s up to a point, P-47s, things like that, but the Hurricane doesn't seem to feature too much, and I don't quite know why, because it was the aircraft that held together Great Britain during those dark days of the Battle of Britain. And a lot of people say the Spitfire got the limelight, and it did. The Spitfire was a plane, an aircraft that was leading towards the future, and the Hurricane was definitely an aircraft out of the past. That's not saying a bad thing, because the Hurricane was very much a better in certain ways than the Spitfire. It was also the second of the 8-gun fighters, obviously the Spitfire being 8-gun as well, armed with 8 303 machine guns. But it was a very stable platform. So the Hurricane was a much better, in my view, aircraft at the time of the start of the Battle of Britain. Obviously, it was going to be superseded by the Spitfire, and obviously the Spitfire was going to get better and better and better, as it did. The Hurricane kind of got superseded and replaced with other aircraft as the war progressed. But we're talking about something that happened in the past. We're talking about today's video. We're going to be flying from RAF Coningsby, if I can get the right button, that'll do. There we go. Yes, we are flying from RAF Coningsby, home of the Battle of Britain flight. So I can't remember if this is a Battle of Britain Hurricane or BBMF Hurricane. I can't remember. I don't think it is. I could be wrong. But yeah, we're going to be flying out of RAF Coningsby here, and we're going to be flying over towards Lincoln, and we're going to be formating up. Well, not formating up, but we're going to be doing a fly past over Lincoln Cathedral. We'll then be taking a left-hand turn over Scampton, doing a little circuit around Scampton, and then we'll be flying back towards RAF Coningsby. So it's a little flight. It's a flight that the Hurricanes and the Spitfires and the Lancaster do in real as well. They do little flights just to obviously show the aircraft off, and pretty much no matter what the aircraft is, whether it's Spitfire, Hurricane or Lancaster, everyone looks up to the sky to see them. So we'll see if we can do a little bit of justice here with this aircraft. So anyway, let's just make sure everything is honky-dory. Right, so let's zoom this in. We'll start on a reserve tank. Mags can come to on, that can come up. Radiator flap can be open. I think that's, yep, that's underneath there. We will be needing that. You can cook an engine and cook a Merlin on the ground. Right. I never know how to get this thing to actually... It does, and oh, there we go. Oh, do we get it? No, that's unlocking it. Click spots. Bane of my life. Such a... Ah, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Whew, I hate that thing with a passion. Right, so let's get Trackir back set up again. So throttle is correct. Prop pitch is full. Mixture is set. Let's clear the front, clear at left and clear and right. Parking brake is set. And I'll have a clear start. Sorry if that just blew out the sounds a bit. Right, so we'll have flaps coming down one stage. And because Hurricanes and Spitfires do not like to be kept on the ground very long, we shall get going. Trackir doing its best to be annoying. So RAF Coningsby, home of the Eurofighter Typhoon training, as well as I think 2 or 3 frontline squadrons. And also a location where I go to in reality as well to do my photography. So I do take lots of photos of aircraft, and RAF Coningsby is one of those areas where you do get guaranteed Typhoon action. And if you're really lucky, you get to see some of the BBMF. Lovely sounds there. I think they were worked on by Echo 19. And it really does sound like a Hurricane. I know they've got the same engine as a Spitfire, but it does sound like a Hurricane. We'll be taking off on the main tank. Checking everything is okay. We're not going to be using oxygen at this height or this flight. Right, so flaps down one stage, departing runway 07. Let's get going. Gear coming up. Flaps going up. no autopilot in this aircraft. All flying manual. Just swinging ourselves over towards RAF Waddington. Twitchy little aircraft, the Hurricane. Could be more down to my controls if I'm honest, because the Hurricane, like I say, was a very stable gun platform and was actually preferred to the Spitfire, weirdly. The Hurricane shot down more enemy aircraft than every other form of anti-air defence during the Battle of Britain. So Spitfire, anti-aircraft AAA fire, barrage balloons, anything like that did not shoot down as many aircraft as the Hurricane. The Hurricane was the more stable aircraft for the British. Unfortunately though, like I say, the Hurricane was of an older design. The aircraft preceding the Hurricane, which I think was either the Hind or the Demon, you can actually see it's a biplane aircraft, but you can see if you take off the top wing, it is a Hurricane. You have the Hurricane's thick bottom wing and the fuselage, and I think had an Kestrel engine inside it. It's really stretching my aircraft knowledge there. The Hurricane being also very much useful in more than just the Battle of Britain. Once the Battle of Britain was secured, Hurricanes were used in other theatres. They were used in the Lend-Lease program for the Soviets. They featured in the desert, where uprated versions were put into service, including the famous 2D tin opener, which was a Hurricane that replaced some of its 303 machine guns with, I believe, 20mm cannon. It was a very lethal anti-tank aircraft. You can actually see the cathedral at our 1 o'clock. What we're going to do is we're going to be crossing over RAF Waddington. And then starting a right-hand turn over North Icon, descending down. Currently at 1,700 feet, we'll be descending down to about 1,200 to 1,000 for our run over the cathedral. So other roles the Hurricane fulfilled actually was launched off ships. I believe it's called the Hurricat, and it was actually, I'm not talking aircraft carriers, we're actually talking cargo vessels. One of the early problems convoys faced was the threat of the Focke-Wulf FW200, I think it is, the Condor, a 4-range maritime long-range bomber. And when you're in the Atlantic, you don't really have access to aircraft carriers in the early stages. So the British came up with this rather novel idea of putting catapults onto cargo vessels, and they had a Hurricane strapped to the catapult. And when the Focke-Wulf FW-190 was sighted, the Hurricane was launched. Hopefully, at the very least, persuaded Jerry to go away, or shot him down. Unfortunately, though, there was no way for the Hurricane pilot to actually land, so would have to ditch his aircraft right next to the convoy, hoping to get picked up. So it was a one-way sort of mission. So RAF Waddington is in sight. Cathedral is in sight. Cloud cover looks like it's a little bit higher than us, but it is beyond our flight plan, so shouldn't be an issue for the flight today. Cleared in over the top of RAF Waddington, airspace is clear. Red's not displaying today. Anyway, so over RAF Waddington, red's on the ground. Starting our right hand turn. Cathedral's now off the nose. Speed good, altitude good. We'll make a little loop round the cathedral before heading back to RAF Coningsby. So, as we depart from the Lincoln area, I shall get us back to RAF Coningsby, and I shall resume the video when we're back in Coningsby's airspace. Okay, so welcome back. We have just got about 6 nautical miles to run to RAF Coningsby. We'll be making a run in down runway 07 and peel into the landing pattern, and it'll be a right hand landing pattern. So as I said at the start of the video, I am surprised the Hurricane doesn't really feature that much in flight simulators. It's not just Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. 2024 has been the same as well. When Warbirds get released, it's not the Hurricane, and it's been like this for quite a few flight simulators, if I'm honest. I mean, combat flight sims do have the Hurricane if they're World War II based, but here in the civilian side of the flight sim market, the Hurricane doesn't get much love. But I'm so glad that Aeroplane Heaven did finally release this. They released it a while ago now. So as long with the Spitfire, they have also released this, the Hurricane, and they're also in the works for releasing the Lancaster. So there will be a whole BBMF contingent of aircraft soon to be available. It has gone quiet on the Lancaster front. There was some pictures released of early works for the Lancaster, which looked pretty incredible. So Coningsby's to our 11 o'clock now. We're slowly descending down. So, runway is in sight. We're just trying to line ourselves up with it. But like I say, it'll be a pass down the runway. Peel up, right hand departure, right hand landing pattern. Quite a lot of stuff you have to do in the Hurricane to get it down to a landing configuration. So eventually, when we're on the final approach, flaps will be 2-stage, gear will be locked down. Canopy will be open, and all while doing that I'm going to retrim an aircraft out as well. So anyway, let's go in. over the runway, climb, peel to the right. Flaps going down one stage, gear selected down, time to check there, landing configuration. Canopy unlatched. Up, going down second stage. Way in sight. So as we trundle down to the end of the runway, I'll probably cut the video here actually because taxi is a bit of a... takes a while to taxi back to our parking spot, and I will see you back at the BBMF hangar for my final thoughts on the Airplane Heaven Hurricane Mark 1A. So welcome back. Just taxiing in past the Typhoons. It's quite surreal to have the aircraft that, with the Spitfire, saved our bacon during the Battle of Britain against the aircraft that do the job today. The Eurofighter Typhoon FGR4, I think it is now. Capable, a very capable multi-role aircraft. And I think it's very important that we remember the aircraft that served today as well as the aircraft that served yesterday. And more importantly, the pilots, the brave pilots that flew in these aircraft. Always good to get back on the ground. Right, so mags can now come off. Fuel system is set to off. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Airplane Heaven Hurricane Mark 1A. I've explained this before. I'm still flabbergasted that Hurricane doesn't feature more in flight simulators. But I'm glad for Airplane Heaven for actually releasing this aircraft, and even more glad for, I think it's Echo 19, for releasing the sound pack, or creating the sounds for this aircraft, because the sounds make the aircraft. And an aircraft as iconic as the Hurricane, with the iconic Rolls-Royce Merlin inside it, needs to have very, very good sounds inside it, and it does have that in spades. There will be a Avro Lancaster, hopefully, being released for 2020 and 2024 sometime this year. It has been, or had photos and pictures and information released of it. It is in the works. So hopefully soon we will have a BBMF hangar with a Mark 1A Spitfire, or an early Mark Spitfires, Hurricanes, and an Avro Lancaster sat here for us to fly. I cannot wait for that day. I really cannot. 4-engine heavy bombers, I think, just don't feature that often in flight simulators. Again, sort of like the Hurricane, and the Lancaster, it's going to be something really, really good. Can't wait for that. Anyway, like I said, I will drop a link below for the scenery that I've used. It is the payware version of RAF Coningsby, and as far as I can see, it's darn well accurate, I should say. Just a shame we haven't got the sound effects of typhoons starting up and the likes, but we have to live with the restrictions. Also, drop a link in below for the Airplane Heaven Hurricane from the website. And yeah, if you're interested in warbirds, have a look at this one, because it is something a bit different. It's not a Mustang, it's not a Spitfire. You know, obviously it's not a Mustang and not a Spitfire, but it is something a little bit different and a little bit older, whereas the Mustang was leading towards the end of the war, Spitfires would lead towards the end of the war, the Hurricane was at the start of the war. So it's a little bit different on how warbirds were created. So anyway, if you've got any questions or comments, please bang them below. I will happily talk about the Hurricane, and I will see you guys and girls in a future Microsoft Flight Simulator video very, very soon.